My name is Dionne Griffin. I'm a 2010 graduate of Humboldt High School, where I was number 3 in my class, and I'm a 2010 freshman at the University of Minnesota. I'll be studying economics there. I'm here today to share with you a story of generosity and of optimism, two of my favorite energies. During my senior year at Humboldt, I had the unimaginable opportunity to work at Ecolab campus as an IT technician. This experience was only possible through the partnership of Ecolab and Genesys Works, their community partner. We supported a truly unforgettable experience in the lives of my peers and mine. This speech may contain a few memories that seem sorrowful, but I'm a man that operates optimistically. I wish not to give you all gloomy sensations. I want happiness. I want to begin by saying that I am a spiritual soul. I'm grateful because I feel that all challenges that I've faced have been faced with mercy. For example, even though I've been a hair away from having a homeless shelter or sleeping in a slide park as my last resort for shelter, there's always been a hand that descended from the shadows offering me a place to sleep. Sugar-coated struggles, that's what I call it. I also wanted to say that I deserve no glory. I'm just a man. All the opportunities that have come to me have been seemingly coincidental. I've had no control over the outcome of events. I've done what I felt was right and listened to the teachers that I was given. Let us begin with the bright. The most happy section of my childhood is secured between the ages of 8 and 11, where I lived in the suburb of Chicago, Blue Island. During this time, my family had a home with 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. My father owned a Cadillac truck, and we belonged to a welcoming community. I lived with 5 of my 6 brothers and sisters, which is the closest that we've been to united since I was born. The only stain on this perfect picture was that my father funded its development with money that he collected illegitimately. A child's admiration for a positive parent is unquestionable. My father foresaw that my brothers and I would admire all too well the way that he was making money. We were developing quickly. He decided not only to work for legitimate money from that point on, but also that all assets that we owned would be purchased with legitimate tender. And there began the fall. Employment became an obstacle, and financing the cool Cadillac and the huge home became difficult. We lagged behind with the bills, so we had to sacrifice utility bills in order to pay for the rent. Electricity went first. When electricity was temporarily disconnected, the items in the fridge go bad, so we had to dispose of potential meals. And let me tell you something, and don't forget, my father was creating a family that operated optimistically. At least we had candles was the mentality that my family adopted. And they smelled good. It was during this absence of light that my mother parted from my father and the household to live on her own. She left us, not just him. And although they had their differences, we were innocent. She would contact me little for the following 4 years. And that's a mistake that I still have trouble understanding. That divide caused a great amount of independence, for which I'm grateful though. Eventually, we lost everything, the car and the home. We were planning to move in with the only relative that would offer space, Aunt Dionne. She lived in Minnesota, far away from the community we so loved. We arrived in just days. Our band of nomads included my father, 3 of my brothers, my little sister, and me. 6 people in total. Aunt Dionne lived with her boyfriend in a 1-bedroom apartment. Imagine that, 8 people, 1-bedroom apartment. Possible, huh? Aunt Dionne harbored my siblings and I for about 3.5 years. The environment became hostile, and she and my father allowed a stormed argument to develop between them about governing the house. She kicked all of us out with nowhere to go. She also told boisterous information to the police in attempts to have my father arrested. I'm relieved by the fact that she had no logic in her lies and failed, because had he been arrested, the events that followed would not have been possible. I was advised to place what I needed into a small suitcase. And for the following 3 months, everything that I owned, everything that belonged to me was smothering inside that suitcase. What I left behind was no longer my own and probably became trash. I operated out of that suitcase personally. My brothers and sisters scattered in attempts to find relatives who would provide space, but the only options lived back in Chicago. I didn't want to return to Illinois, though. I had established myself comfortably in Minnesota, and this was my home now, the land of opportunity. I was going on 16, and my father decided that I was old enough to make the decision to stay. My eldest brother, my father, and me were the only three to remain in Minnesota, and we had nothing. If we had a car, we would have slept in it. My father was considering going to Dorothy Day, a homeless shelter near our neighborhood, when some friends of my brother offered my brother and I what room they had in their home. My father selected an apartment building on West 7th Street and assured us that we would be living in them in the future. But for the moment, none of us had money. So all of us began to save from the employment that we found and manifest. My greatest gratitude is given to the family that harbored me and my brother during that summer. But I did discover something disgusting about the situation. The father of the household was actually charging my father $10 for every week that we stayed there. It appears to be a futile amount of money, but at the end of the summer, it totaled to around $100, which is 10% of our down payment for the apartment. We struggled to gather even that. I appreciate the fact that we were housed for that summer, but my respect for the man suffered a fracture from his actions. The dictionary describes help as aid given to another, but the dictionary obliges the genuine touch that's supposed to surround help. My definition of help is a good or a service given to another with the intention of improving their situation and without the expectation of something in return. If you're rewarded, then that's a wonderful outcome. That's good for everybody. But if you expect something in the beginning, initially, then the interaction is nothing more than an exchange. You're just trading something for what they have. By the end of the summer, we pulled our collected cash together and moved into our own apartment. We didn't have any money or furniture, but that didn't matter. We had a place to live. That detail meant the world, and I was satisfied to be sleeping on the floor. Carpet, of course. During this strenuous struggle, my grade point average never plunged below 3.7, and my final weighted high school GPA was 4.2. I maintained a job since the age of 15, and I was elected to leadership role in the Youth Science Center. I played varsity baseball at Humboldt High School, no matter how horrible our record was. And eventually, I became an intern at Ecolab through Genesys Works, which provided early contribution to my household bills, a fact that my father appreciates. I was accepted at the U of M, and I became a 2010 Horatio Alger Scholar, 2010 Dell Scholar, 2010 Puckett Scholar, and 2010 Wallen Scholar. The funds from these honors combined with those at the U of M to provide my full tuition. Most importantly, I maintain my faith in my religion and in the power of optimism. It's with this optimism that I continue on the road to college and beyond. Thank you all for having me and giving me respect and attention.
Well, we've all heard the tired joke about your slot in the speaker order. I don't know who set me up to follow Dionne, but it's almost impossible. I would say, what a fantastic story, and I've rewritten what I'm going to say as a result. So, I would characterize this company as a very generous company, and a company is really only made up of the people in it. So by default, we're a generous crew. Every time there's a challenge with one of our teammates, we rise to the occasion. If there's anything or a call to action, people are here to help. I mean, it is a core part of the culture. I don't know, I was born into a family. I didn't have one of these travails. Don't know if I'd call it a silver spoon. It's probably even luckier than that. And a lot of us had that. And we really don't dictate the circumstances into which we're born. And I think it's a real opportunity. And if you really buy into this country's philosophy, I think one of the things you got to buy into is that we need to give everybody a chance to succeed. And we've got to make sure that we're helping people, right, have the situation, get the education that they deserve so that they can find a way to move themselves with hopefully optimism and generosity. And this is where we come in. So United Way, Global Impact, right, the health associations that are all represented here all do really important work. And one of the places, if we can't physically go out there and help, which we probably can, we can certainly help financially. And there's not a person in this room that doesn't have extra money. I mean, it's a fact. And so how are we going to do this? And so one of the goals that we set out for this campaign is leaders have to lead. And I think it's a personal obligation of every one of our executives to give. Everyone, 100%. Probably the thing that I appreciate the most is a spirit of generosity. That if you have money or if you have time, talent, it is almost like an obligation to share it. And I do believe this stuff does come back. And I do believe it's an important thing. And I think it's also important for the company. Because how do we want to be known? And what kind of environment do you want to create? And when people come in here, they feel the spirit of the place. And so what do we want to do about it? And I would say, here's an opportunity to do, frankly, the minimum in a sense, because all we have to do is give some of our extra to go make some of these stories come true. So I hope you join me in doing this. And you're the leadership. And if we don't lead, I don't know how we can expect the rest of the company to stand up and do this too.